It's Rose again, and I'm talking about my spiritual autobiography. I was born into a home that was a Christian home. My grandparents had been Catholic. My grandfather became very upset with the Catholic Church because my grandmother needed prayer and they wouldn't come out to the house. And so my grandfather left the Catholic Church. My mother's side was Catholic and remained Catholic. However, my father's side was all Christians. In fact, my uncle went to seminary. So growing up, we went to very much a Thomas Kincaid picket fence, white little church with a steeple. And I remember learning the books of the Bible, and they had flannel boards, and I absolutely loved the Bible stories, just loved them. I didn't understand the deeper meaning of them until I got older, but I just loved all of the stories. And I just remember all the stories of Passover and Moses through the Red Sea, and, the stories that children love. And Paul being, someone being let down in a basket, and just all of these stories, which I realize now gave me a rich foundation. The other side of my childhood was that my grandfather not only left the Catholic Church, but my grandfather then became a founding member of a black church in the 1950s. So by the time I was by the time I was born, rather, I was going to Grandpa's church. And Grandpa's church is today the largest black church in Buffalo, New York. And so very, very different behaviorally. We would go to my little church and we would sing, the standard Onward Christian Soldiers and all of the songs, and it was very quiet, no pin drop. And you could hear a sound when the pastor spoke. And then in the afternoon, we would go to Grandpa's church, where it was rockin' gospel music and services that were 3 and 4 hours long. And if somebody decided they wanted to be baptized, they just brought them up there and baptized them. And I remember looking up on the altar or on the podium rather, and there were all these elders of the church, and they were all black gentlemen, very nicely dressed. And there was my grandfather, who looks like Geppetto from Pinocchio, and little white-haired Italian guy in the middle of this whole sea of black people. And I remember the ladies just being so gracious and so lovely, and it gave me a wonderful, wonderful cross-cultural experience with different religions and different expressions of faith. And it's something that's proven to be invaluable today, because I feel very, very comfortable no matter what church I go to, even visiting other religions, even Muslims and my Jewish friends and my Mormon friends. It's just fine. I just don't have an issue with any of that. When I was in my probably 9 or 10, my parents moved us to California, and we attended a neighborhood church. And at that church, it was fascinating. We got to do what they called sword drills, which was where we would hold our Bibles up and they would simply name a scripture like Isaiah 5:12, and everybody would frantically look for it. And the first person who found it would stand up and just read it. You get so many points. And being in the Christmas plays and excuse me, just wonderful, wonderful memories of going to church camp and being a part of Vacation Bible School, and just loved church, loved my teachers, just thoroughly enjoyed it. And then when after my parents died, I became involved with Calvary Chapel of Costa Mesa, that whole hippie movement and the tent, and became friends with Chuck and Kay Smith, who literally became parents to me and my brothers. And people at that church are still friends today, some 40 years later. Just deep, close friends. We were very, very young, and they were friends of ours, and they took care of us and they taught us. And probably the next thing that was the most instrumental was 9/11, because I saw the example of Chaplain Father Judd. Michael Judd, Father Michael Judd. He was the chaplain for the New York Fire Department, and he went out to the towers, 911, and he was praying for someone, and one of the bodies that was falling from the towers fell on him, and he lost his life, and the firemen carried him to St. Patrick's in New York, and they put his body on the altar, and he is the official first victim of the 911 attacks. And I was so moved by his story that I looked into becoming a chaplain, and that has led me to go to Fuller. I also have been thrilled to be involved in the Celebrate Recovery program, which is a 12-step Christ-centered program started by Saddleback Church's John Baker and endorsed by Saddleback Church's Rick Warren. Wonderful, wonderful program of just looking at your hurts, your habits, and your hang-ups. It includes alcohol and drugs, and not the reason I was there. I was there to pretty much deal with all the issues that were left from being orphaned so young and raising my family. But that has been a huge, huge spiritual influence on me. The people, the pastors, the church I attend, Cottonwood. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm now getting involved more in missions and mission outreaches, as well as Welcome Center here in Garden Grove for political refugees that are refugees because of their faith. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Thank you.